So how can people's like power be as fast as yours?
Yeah, well, I think, very interesting that you brought that up because I'm really known for speed. I think what I've done is that I've trained a lot on technique. Technique and momentum is a huge thing for me. I always have a chart, where in my chart, 50% is mentally. So if you say you could do it, you're gonna do it. If you say I'm frustrated, you say I can't do it. If you say, oh, it requires a lot of strength, oh, you got balance, I don't have balance, it requires, you have to be flexible. If you're coming from that perspective, then it's gonna be apparently difficulty. It becomes more challenging. So mentally is really important. That's like 50% in my world. 50%. 35% it's technique and momentum. Momentum and technique I'm able to understand also and study how I'm going to do the move. Where does my hand go? Where's my center of gravity? Center of gravity comes into a huge component. What degree am I gonna have to be in? Where do I push? How is my legs gonna give me? How am I gonna generate momentum? And when I generate momentum, what am I gonna do with that when I do a transition or a combination? So I pay attention to a lot of those things, and I distinguish them big. Okay, so my momentum is telling me to go. It's just to go and then just be with my momentum, not trying to hurry and beat my momentum. I'm going with it. So when you see me dance, I am going with my momentum, and I'm not leaving anything behind. I'm fully going at it, and that has to depend on the music that I'm listening to. Because if I'm listening to something that is really, really hype, man, it just gives me that extra push to even go faster. But technique and momentum is a huge component, and then also mentally, And the other one is strength. 15% is strength. So you have 50% mentally, 35%, momentum and technique. That's 85. And then the last one is 15%. A lot of people say, at the beginning when they see people, that takes a lot of strength to do. That's like, man, I can't do that. And no, basically it does take strength, but it's 15%. Yes, it requires strength, but not all of it. People have it backwards. So you need to be in the right frame of mind, train with going to the technique and the momentum, how to generate that, and then how to go about it, and then you listen to the music at the same time and able to come in. And then here's the other one, timing. Timing is another of importance that a lot of people don't pay attention to, So timing is like when you're gonna do the move and then when you shift. So if I'm doing head spins, I'm gonna bring my legs, I'm gonna position my legs, my body in a certain position. Once the body in a certain position, I feel that, the centrifugal force pulling me, then I have to pull in. So when I'm pulling in, I'm actually, I'm positioned in a certain way, which is the technique of it, and I feel my momentum, then I wait for the timing. There's a certain timing where I pull in, and it just gives me the speed. And if I want to do a combination, I also got to wait for that timing, such that the timing takes me to the next level with my momentum, and the transition becomes very, very smooth. Instead of me slowing down, I actually speed up to the next move.
Wow.
So I learned about physics, mathematics, anatomy. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. That's why I'm like, so we're beyond, like b-boys. I think that the world of a b-boy, we don't realize the stuff that we're heroes, man. We're like an incredible heroes. We push our bodies. We push our bodies to a zone which we call a quantum zone. We go into a quantum zone where we don't realize how powerful we are with our bodies, and because it's incredible, we're like extraordinaries, we're like a superheroes, because of the amount of energy and the amount of force that we generate, and that puts it in a zone of being in a quantum zone. It's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty radical, I would say, in the sense of like we don't really know, experience, that we are very powerful. So I love to study technique, momentum. I love to study physics. Where I'm gonna position myself. And I think a lot of the b-boys, maybe some do, I think most people don't do that. And they say, well, you go fast because you're small. No, I go fast because I'm able to understand technique. I'm able to understand momentum. I'm able to understand my mental where it's at, and I'm able to understand timing. And especially when I have music behind me, will become extraordinary. So that's one of the things that I could say to take your move, from this to the next level. And also the environment as well that you're breaking in and you're practicing. If you're gonna practice a move that's gonna also take some like challenges, well, get mats. You gotta get mats so so that you don't injure yourself at the same time, and you also get coaches or find other people that can guide you and that can contribute to your dance.
How have you managed to maintain that level of cleanliness, and what is it that you do in your practices to ensure this amount of cleanliness that you have?
Well, there's not really like an insurance to execution. It's just more, the most basic way to look at it is doing moves that you know you got, or doing moves that you know you can do. I think a lot of guys that crash is they're going out there and they try something they've never done before. You know, and that's cool. If you can pull that off, it's gonna be more rewarding. But they're still doing moves that they know they can do, but they're just trying to combine it in a different way where they never combined it before. I mean, for me, I do the same thing, but I know how to control my body with it, and that has to do with the way I practice in my earlier years and the way I practice today. So I'll practice where I'm just freestyling, or I try to just connect moves in different ways, and then I fall into the move, and then I get out of it different ways, and it's not necessarily that I sit there and think, okay, let me find this way out of it, and this way into it, and this way out of it, and this way into it. It's more like I'm just doing it. So then that way, when I'm at an event and I'm in a battle and I throw the move a certain way and I execute the move, then I still find a way out of it where I don't feel so awkward. It's almost like you want to just play with your body, like roll around, go into a freeze, roll out of the freeze, go back to another freeze, go into a power move, go to a move, get out of the move. Like, you're always having to find ways to catch yourself. And for me, that's what has helped me execute. And it has to do with just the way I practice as well, which, like I said, it has to be consistent. So if you can execute a hard move when you're tired, imagine when you got energy. There's no reason why you should be falling, So all that has to do with just control and understanding of your body, and that has to do with the way you practice,
So when you were saying that you trained or you practiced a different way in your early years than this year, what were those changes, if you don't mind me asking? So like, what were the things that you did back then that you don't do now, and what do you do?
The things I did before, I was more repetitive in the way that I practiced the move, I mean, I think that just has to do with the early years of anybody's breaking in general. You have to practice your windmills repetitively, practice your flush repetitively, your head spins. You have to practice all these moves so you learn how to do them. You know how they feel how it feels to do them. Once you got those moves, you got those moves. All you have to do is brush up on them. Unless you're trying to like master those moves and take them to like the next level, then you're gonna have to practice that every day repetitively. But if you're somebody that just wants to dance and throw in the elements of our dance that's more dynamic, which is the spinning side of it, then you're gonna obviously incorporate that if you got it. So for me, that's what it was. It was like repetitive breaking, and also, I experimented with having sets when I was younger as well, and it was cool. It was like a learning experience because then I learned how to, transition moves and how to connect moves better. But then eventually, when it was too much of a set from beginning to end, it got boring for me because I didn't like the feeling of having to go in a specific order. So that's like the difference. Now, I still practice in a way where like, yeah, I'll go out and do a move maybe 2 or 3 times, but then after that I move on to the next thing. And I just think it has to do with the amount of time I've been dancing. And also the thing is, when you dance, sometimes you also basing it on the feeling. Even when you're practicing, you want to freestyle because you want to be able to still have that sporadic moment and do something raw that you've never done before on any given round. So that's kind of like what you break for almost, is that one moment where you do something you've never done before, and that's kind of what you're always after. And for me, that's kind of what I'm always after when I practice. And the more I practice like that, the more likely it could happen in a battle. Even though competitions are limited in the amount of rounds you can break, you know, there's still that moment of being able to pull out something you've never done before. And when you do it, it's like, whoa, because I've done it before and I know the feeling, and it's an amazing feeling.
That's a really good question because my training has changed drastically. Like, it has changed so much since I first started breaking. When I first started breaking, I mean, I would practice like 8 hours a day. And then I think to myself now, why? Why would I practice 8 hours a day of just doing the same stuff over and over when I was just killing my body? I was just killing my body. Now it's more about effective training, you know, getting into the gym or the dance room or your own garage or your own practice spot and going in there and be like, you know what, I'm going to train hard for these 45 minutes. And training super hard in 45 minutes, making it effective, it's just like training 8 hours. You know what I mean? But you have to really go in there and put in work. And so I've learned a lot about that. It's about just learning how to manage the time with my practice or my training, whether it be a creative section or whether it be a conditioning section. I've learned how to manage that time. So learn how to make everything you do more effective. If you're going to train and you're going to condition, make it effective. Don't just go to the gym and waste 2 hours when it could take you 30 to 45 minutes to get it done. A lot of time people take an hour of stretching, you know, and then they'll do like 30 minutes of treadmill or whatever. You know what? I'm just throwing whatever examples out there, but it's really, if you know you have a job to do and you're on a mission to get healthier, to get fit, to get stronger, then do what it takes. And if you can do it if you learn how to create a schedule and do like 30 to 45 minutes a day and not overdo yourself. But the most important thing too you have to remember is that rest is just as important, or if not more important. You got to make sure not to overdo yourself either. So if your body's feeling it and you feel like you're getting, you know, like it's just too much for you, you're tired, then you know what? Take a day or two off. You got to make sure your body recovers. And that's another thing that b-boys and b-girls have no idea about. They don't know how to recover. So a lot of them will get tired in the battle because they don't do any drills where they have a 20 or 30 second gap to recover. If you and I were in a battle and you called me out, your round at the most is going to be 45 seconds. At the very least, it's going to be 15 to 20 seconds. So in between that time, I have to have enough time to learn how to recover fully to go back out and respond, right? So creating drills with those gap times. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do a set right now, or I'm going to do 50 jumping jacks in this 30 seconds, and then I'm going to rest 30 seconds, and I'm going to go back and do it again. So creating drills that are going to help you benefit that style, right? And so that's why I've been able to do that with breaking and with a lot of the drills that I do. So it's really just find a way to do it, you know, and get to it.
How long have you been dancing for?
I've been active 33 years now.
33 years. So how has your training changed in those 33 years since when you started?
Well, from just going at it without warming up or anything and not thinking about like entertaining my body in a way, shape or form, just break, to very much be very conscious about training and like different how to be able to do this for a long time. You know, it's like I still have things to do within this what we do. You know, like I still feel I'm burning for this, and that's, you know, I gotta find ways to make it keep going. And by doing that, it's like I gotta, you know, nourish myself the right way. I gotta both, you know, like with food and spirituality and everything, just to feel that okay, I can keep going. But training is very important for me. It's like just moving by itself just makes my body happy, you know, like, and that is the most important, I think. Just don't stop moving in any way, shape or form.
So what do you think we could be doing as dancers to stay healthy and to make sure that we're at our best? Like what do you know that works for you? What do you do that works for you?
If you're a young guy just starting, I would say prepare yourself a little bit better when you learn stuff. Find out your weaknesses. I know many people said this before in those interviews you done, but find out your weaknesses and work on them. but prepare yourself like for what you're gonna do. If you look at gymnastics, they will go through stages, different stages for reaching a certain goal. And you start at stage 1 and you master that, and then you go stage 2. You don't go to the last one, the first thing you do. We have a tendency to, when we break, we're like, okay, I want to learn a move. And we go straight for it without thinking like how that will affect my body. And sometimes that will kick you back pretty hard and you get injuries. I mean, if you're 20 years old and you had like 2 shoulder surgeries, maybe you should start thinking like, what's going on, So just take your time and don't stress. Let the moves, grow within you before you go to the next one, and keep that going. But think about progression. Think about how to approach what you do. For instance, if you learn an air flare, okay, how is that going to affect my body if I don't prepare the right way? And if you prepare the right way, it's going to be so much easier to do it. So I think that's a good way to think, like find moves and stuff, but think also what you need to be able to do those moves. And you will last a long time.
Is that something that you tell your students as well, that you teach?
Yeah, we practice like that all the time.
Do I train by myself or with my crew? I don't really train that often with my crew anymore. I would say at this moment now, my crew isn't really as active as we used to be. We're not really training as much together, probably because we're all older now and we're all trying to reach different points of our life. We all understand that we can't just be dancing all the time. Some of us have families and we have really big responsibilities. So, as much as I would like to train with my crew all the time, I'm not training with my crew that much. Right now, I am training a lot by myself. And I would say that when you train by yourself, it could be a little bit more difficult because sometimes it can be a little hard to inspire yourself.